There's multiple lawsuits involved and multiple plaintiffs and multiple stuff, but oh my God, this is like looking at the royal jewels of the Porsche world. And I didn't know what I was looking at. I was a kid back then, I was like 23.
Finally, the green car.
Sandy, he's forcing me to talk about the green car.
Look, the 10 people we have watching the show said, what's that green car back there?
Yeah.
And you know, they caught a glimpse of it in one of your videos where you quick start it.
Yeah.
Please don't do that again. Use gasoline will work or other dangerous chemicals.
I mean,
whatever. Just, you know, it's bad for the motor.
Really?
It's not good for your motor.
The $25 million 917 video that I went and linked into the comments.
I watched that years ago.
Yeah, with
and when I
Kevin
watched that
Jeanette.
dude filling it up with quick start,
Stop
all I
filling it
kept thinking, yeah, he laid a can into that to get that thing going. And needless to say,
MFI cars.
yeah, well, look, it's not good for your motor. You want to talk to people that build motors, ask them if it's okay. And they'll tell you no.
Book on building motors.
I know. That doesn't mean you should be using quick start. Don't do it.
Thumb wrestle if you want. Anyway, we'll table that discussion.
You want to do it to your Chevy? Knock yourself out.
This is a perennial crowd favorite. Everybody talks about this car. Everybody loves this car. Everybody thinks this car is the greatest car ever. I don't dislike it. I like it. It's okay, you know. Well, let's drag the camera over here. So yes, this is pretty much the baddest motor. Baddest motor? Baddest motor?
I don't know. You know, we probably have to get some English majors to write into it.
Why don't we ask ChatGPT?
Like, you know, like even this stuff, it doesn't have tennis balls in there.
Well, I bought this.
Yeah, but it still looks right.
These are plumbing. These are from toilets.
Really?
From Germany, from like 1970 or something. That's the secret. These things they sell for like $500 for a set because Porsches, you know, all the classic Porsches use them, but they're like plugs for like a shower.
At the German Home Depot.
At the German, not even at the German Ace Hardware. From the 1970s, so these were like super.
They look
common.
totally right for this stuff.
They do.
It looks better than a frickin' tennis ball.
I bought this set for like $300. It's like the most overpriced thing I think I've ever paid. $300 for a set of toilet plugs from Germany, and they got the right color and all that stuff. I mean, I do. I like for this engine, I had no problem doing.
It's got that weird, like, I don't know if it's fiberglass or nylon.
Yeah.
It's just you know, that's like the old school stuff. The injector, mechanical injection.
So have I told you the story on how I got this?
This particular motor?
Yes.
I know some of it because that's how we ended up meeting, but I'm sure if others that are in the Porsche space don't know, it's fascinating. That's how I ended up meeting Wayne because I was like watching lots of 917 races and somehow I came across a website where they're building motors, you know, and then I came across Pelican parts. I didn't know much about it. And there was a story about the 917 motors that were stolen from the Porsche dealership.
Why don't you just give away the punchline to the story?
That's the intro to you to tell the story, but that's ultimately how I ended up meeting you. But I was always fascinated because out of all time, that's the baddest race car ever made. I don't care what they come up with in the future, Speed Racer, Mach 6, or whatever, nothing's badder ass than that car.
So the story begins or ends
in a place a long time ago.
It was a long time ago now, and there's multiple lawsuits involved and multiple plaintiffs and multiple stuff, but it's all kind of under the water. Water under the bridge. Thank you. I always get my phrases wrong. Yeah, it was back in 1998, I think, is when Wojciech Polak passed away. He was driving his Porsche on the Autobahn and either had a heart attack or a seizure or something like that.
Good way to go, though.
Yeah. No, he was driving. I think his son was driving in the car and pulled it
that's
over
not a good way to go.
No, his older son. Junior, or maybe it wasn't Junior. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know. I'm making up the details in my head like ChatGPT does. Yeah. So anyway, they flew him back here. Supposedly he died on the runway waiting. Blah blah blah. I don't know. Anyway, so he left all of his assets, or most of his assets, to a charitable trust that he set up called the Vasek and Maria Polak Charitable Trust for the Torrance Memorial
I think we
Hospital.
drove by one of them today.
We flew by them today in the tank.
Yeah.
Yep. So that building was paid for by the assets that were.
He gave back. That's a nice fellow.
He gave it all. He gave the 917. He had two 917s. He had, I think, 2 or 3. He had a handful.
More than
of
one.
917s, 935, 934. And when he passed away, they had a sale on all these assets. And I called it the Vasek Polak garage sale. And we had just started Pelican back then. We started in 97. This was 98. So I went there with my very primitive and early digital camera. And I didn't know what I was looking at. I was a kid back then. I was like 23, 25, something like that. I'm just, high school race car. So I shot all this stuff. And later on, I realized, oh my God, this is like looking at the royal jewels of the Porsche world. I was like, I wish it was one of those cameras that shot onto a floppy disk. I should have just taken a whole box of floppy disks. I took about 50 photos, but I should have taken 500 because people have been asking me. They're like the most popular photos that have ever been looked at on our website. Anyway, so they had this garage sale where they're selling off the cars and the parts and the engines and all. So I took all these photos and I'm like, hey, this stuff's going for like big bucks back then. And I had like 2 nickels to rub together.
You buy the T-shirt and you were happy.
I couldn't even afford like a 911 SC for $8,000 back there then. So, so I published the photos on our website as we did. That's fine. And then thought nothing more of it or whatever. And turns out that the motors. Well, they sold off all the stuff except for 4 917 motors, 1 908 motor.
But they couldn't sell them, or?
It's complicated. It's not that they couldn't sell them. They had buyers for them. They sold one, and then it got returned because it ran out of oil pressure, stuff like that, or whatever. So they had these motors. They're trying to sell them. Maybe they're asking too much, blah, blah, blah. You know how things...
Yeah.
Anyway, they had these motors left over. It's 4 917s, 1 908, 1 907 motor, a prototype 911 motor, hint, and 4 BMW GTP motors. You can show a picture of the GTP BMW as well, because I didn't know what those were either. Make a long story short, they got stolen from Vasek. They were left in a warehouse and they got stolen. And the insurance company hired a private detective to come and find the motors. So this guy, Paul Cohen, ironically, the same Paul Cohen, private detective that I used and hired on the 914.
Full circle.
Full circle. That's how I met Paul. So it's all related. Yes, it's Kevin Bacon of stories, right?
Yep.
So anyway, he came to my front door at Pelican, back in 99, 2000 or whatever, after these things got stolen, and he was hired by the insurance company to track them down. They had a value on them.
Millions.
Nope. $450,000.
That's it?
This is a long time ago.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, $450,000. I paid $320,000 for my first house 5 years after this. So that gives you, they're about more than I would pay for my entire house at the time. So condo, California condo. So house, whatever. Anyway, so a lot of money still. And he came to me like, oh, well, I want to know, asked me about the photos and all the stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I told him, I took the photos here, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so make a long story short, they hired me as an expert witness to testify for the insurance company. It was a big battle between the insurance company
these motors,
and the
nobody
trust.
wants that crap.
Nobody wants that crap. They're all broken motors or whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I was actually hired by the insurance company, which I guess is the evil empire, right?
Yeah, obviously.
To come up with a valuation for these motors. It's kind of a little bit of a side story, but I wrote my report, and I still have it. How do you evaluate a motor that you haven't seen, that no one's seen? They sold one, came back defective. They brought it back, so there's no reports on the motors, no build sheets, there's no photos. There's one photo of the motors lined up in a row. The only photos that exist of these motors are the ones I took. So yeah, it's left over from the label tool thing. So I was using my own photos to do the analysis or whatever, and they paid me a few $100 for that, which was a lot of money for me at the time. Anyway, so my report basically said that since there's no documentation on them, they have to be evaluated at core value, especially since one got returned. So what's the core value of a 917 motor?
400,000?
No, individual parts. So you take the parts and you have to say you part it out. This is worth this. This is worth this. This is worth this. This is worth this. This is worth. And it's not a very big. It was a very hard task to do. So I think I said they were worth between 200 to 300 grand at the time, based on the value that they were. Maybe 80 grand a piece or something. I don't remember. I can look it up. But anyway, so to make a long story short, so I did my report and sent it, and that was the last I had heard of it for a long time. The insurance company paid out, I think my report said it was 450 grand, because I know that's what the insurance paid on the deal, and that's a number. That's an important number, because that number comes back later on. But then it came out to be fast forward to 2005, and I got a phone call. No, I didn't get a phone call. I'm just strolling around on our forums, our Pelican Parts forums, and I still have a copy of this. And someone advertised on our forums in the used parts section,
Porsche.
4 917 motors for sale. And I'm like, no, are you kidding me? Really? So I looked up the post, traced the IP, all that stuff. I wrote back to the guy. I called Paul, the private detective. I said, look at this. The motors have resurfaced, because we weren't sure where they were. Thought they maybe were dumped in the river or whatever, or sold to Europe or whatever. Turns out I've tracked down thieves quite a few times now, 4 or 5 times.
You should become a detective.
That was an option too. Instead of doing
money
this.
wasn't there.
The YouTube stuff doesn't work out well. So now, anyway, so where was I? They showed up on the forums. Yeah. And so I called Paul, and Paul's like, he called the trustee, and the trustee's like, well, we're not even sure if we own them anymore, because the insurance company may own them or whatever, etc. I'm like, okay, well, let me know. So it took like 3 days to figure it out or whatever. They said, okay, well, the trust was very smart. They said, we're gonna, take the money payout, but we're also gonna take a slightly lower payout and we want them back if they get recovered.
Nice.
So, yeah. So they got paid like 450 grand for that, and they got paid out for that. So then they got the rights to recovery. So anyway, so Paul said, go call these guys up, and who are selling these motors, and make an appointment to go inspect them and stuff like that. So I called them up, and I made an appointment for Thursday, and I got all that stuff. And then Paul called the police in the town that we were in. I think it was somewhere in Orange County.
Figures.
Yep. And the night before, the guys canceled. They said, we can't do it. I called Paul up, and I'm like, well, what do we do? These guys canceled. I said, we're going anyway. We don't care. We'll just go. We'll go with it. So we showed up with the police and with, and said these motors are stolen, and Paul showed up, blah, blah, blah. I have a video from this. Yeah.
This is all good stuff. Can we show that?
I've never showed the video to anybody. You think we'd be publishing it on YouTube? Hell, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe. Look at him. Our editor is smiling. He wants to see this video.
Well, I see subscriptions going up to 15, 20 people.
20 people?
20
For 20
people?
subscribers? All right. Let's show the freaking video.
Are they it?
Yeah.
Let me know when you actually get confirmation of it. Let's call it. You understand they did this the smart way. They actually got us out here to make sure, keep everybody happy.
I have no problem.
Serial numbers on the,
All I get is permission to sell them. And I never tried to hide selling anything.
That's two separate pieces.
okay, well, that's.
We're in the oil business and we're trying
One
to
of them did
convert
have
all this
serial.
other stuff
Is
over.
that this one? You got the paperwork?
Yeah, I've got the paperwork. Where's my?
Just don't care.
It's a 907 motor.
Oh, my book.
My number is.
This is the 907 motor.
924-2145. I'll tell you that. 589.
The photos.
9002 is the office number.
But
And my
before we
cell is
wrapped it all up with this,
924-2145.
we look for numbers everywhere.
You know, the numbers, that's another
Right, and
identifying
I'll call you
factor
back.
is that the engine
You don't
doesn't have
call-
any
If you
numbers
don't hear
on
from
it.
me in the next half an hour, call me back.
But see, that becomes an issue too, because I know we've had some stuff, motors go to Germany, and we had to
Okay.
bring them.
Your name
and
again,
put
I'm
numbers
sorry?
on.
Right.
Mark.
Well, Bosch played by his own rules. This is his own personal
Yeah,
stash.
Monty.
I personally
Monty,
took photos
got
of this
it. Okay.
of these engines
All right, thank
stacked
you.
in his warehouse in 2000. That's why he came, because I have these pictures they're on our website right now.
Well,
You can
matter
go
of
look at
fact, I looked at your website with these, with
Right.
this,
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. That's with these, yeah.
because Carl says they were on your website.
Right. Well, Carl says they were on
This
my
is what?
website,
This is
so
a
that
nine-
means that they're the stolen ones.
feel like
What, no, this is a 90,
This is the 907 Hill Climb 2.2 liter engine.
yeah, this is the one that there's one, this is the one of a kind one.
This is the rarest of the
This is
rare.
the rarest of the engines of the one.
Though not the most useful either, but
But
still
that's
the rarest of the
irrelevant,
rare.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are engines. This one alone, what do you estimate the price of?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it depends on the market. I mean, it took me a week to generate that report for you guys 4 years ago. So
Let me see what they listed it on the police report.
Please don't take custody. Okay.
And he's working on behalf of the insurance company.
No, the trust. The trust.
Do you want to just put it over this side?
No, I understand, but I want to make sure you guys know what.
So it's got a block off plate for the. Yeah, these are the blocks. I have pictures of this.
Yeah.
Block off plate here, where the oil pump is supposed to go. That's a temporary holder there. Yep. Actually,
these
that's
are the ones that
is
were
that
in
the
the
cardboard
photograph.
that we were looking at?
Yeah.
That's the cardboard. Yeah.
Remember we pointed out those cards on the floats? They're here. Let me get a picture of that. if you
I don't know if that one has the same crease, but there's three more oranges too.
would. Okay, next one.
We can leave them here, you guys will be under,
Oh, I
get a
have
court
no
order.
problem.
Yeah, that. We can take possession of them, or the officers can convince them to take them into police impound.
I'll fit back the truck.
Yeah, I don't know how we would take them.
If you wanna leave it
Yeah.
here, it's not a problem with me.
The optimum thing we would like to do after all this time is have them in our possession. And we'll give you a receipt for it. So we'll arrange.
We're just contracted to sell the damn thing.
Right.
Okay, I'll tell you.
I'm not gonna, no, it's
Yeah, I know.
it's just a verbal thing.
Right.
How many times you get paperwork on race car?
I don't sell 917 engines though. These are $500,000 stuff. You know. It's true. I mean, if I'm selling a 911 CIS motor, I don't give a shit. But you know, for this stuff, this is heavy duty
Like one of
stuff.
my turbo motors is 120 grand bucks. If they're stolen, I don't want them in here because I want nothing to do with it.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That was real simple.
But the problem that we've got is that there are 5 stolen engines. There's only 5 in existence.
Right.
And no one has built any 5 engines since that time.
The 907 2.2 motor, there's only like 2 ever made, so, or 3, I think, right?
That's a
Yeah.
Got one.
It's just off El Segundo Boulevard.
Off of El Segundo Boulevard. Yeah, it's about 42. I think we'll get over there about 1:30.
Alright, the server's not connected.
Okay, we haven't seen these motors yet.
No, I appreciate it. You're welcome to come over.
Another 917 motor.
I will do that. I'll call you in a little bit. Bye-bye.
Do you want a copy of that other thing?
Yeah.
So that there is when it made me feel good.
Oh, I imagine, yeah. This is beautiful. This is a work of art. You know, one of my biggest fears was that they weren't being taken care of properly. Okay.
Okay,
Ready?
give a shot of all 5.
I had one of my assistants from Pelican with me, and then like he's filming, and then the guys that were selling the motors, Selling the motors, yeah.
We
They're
don't
like,
know.
we don't know where they came from. They fell off. They literally told us that they came. A guy with a pickup truck came up and sold them the motor. Yeah. Okay. All right. So anyway, so make a long story long. We got the motors. It's funny, kind of. As I called we got the motors back because it was stolen. We were there. When you show up with the police and you got all the stuff, that people are like, you get a little.
I don't want to go to jail.
Well, you know, they realize that the stuff's hot, so, but they knew it too, to begin with.
Oh, for sure.
So I called my business partner up, and I said, Tom, I said, I can't explain right now, but I have a truckload of 917 motors coming, and I need you to make room in the warehouse. And I messed with him all the time. So he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, monkeys might fly out of my butt. I'm like, no, I'm not kidding. You need to make room for a 917. No, just please do it. I was like, all right. So sure enough, we got a truck, got them, load them up, came with 917 motors, dropped them off.
They have the guy had all of them.
You sure you haven't heard this story? Okay.
I've heard part of it.
So there's some missing from the pile, all right? You just gave me the great lead in. So four 917 motors showed up and a 907 motor, which is an insanely rare motor. They only made a few of these. It's an 8-cylinder version of the 4-cam motor that was in the 550. Most people I've never even heard of this.
They use that in the Targa de Floria car.
Is that the Dan Gurney car?
I know there's one of them I always remember the car because it had a Gulf with a blue arrow on it in John Wyer livery.
That's a 908 motor.
Oh, that's different because that was or a flat 8, right?
Yes, this is a different flat 8.
Okay.
This is even more rare flat 8.
Flattier.
That's the common flat 8. This one they only made
a
a handful of. It's insanely common. It's a 4-cam motor anyway. So that 908 was missing. So that night I got a call from a guy in Hawaii I posted all this on the forums. I said, look what we got today. We recovered the motors. And I was trying to get all that good SEO publicity and all that stuff. Anyway, I got a call from a guy in Hawaii. He said, I just paid X $100,000 for a 908 motor from the guys that you just got the motors from in the same town. So we're like, guys, we're there with the cops. They lied to us. They had the other motor hidden in the other room that they had already sold. So the next day, we went back again with my truck and a trailer. I bought a truck and a trailer.
And
that trailer.
Handcuffs?
No, but it's
California.
It's a civil matter.
It's hardly even a crime to rob and steal here.
I'm not an attorney, so I do not know the statute of limitations or anything like that or whatever, and it's not. I never quite looked it up. But anyway, the next day, my private detective guy convinced them that it was in their best interest to give up the motor that they had already sold to this guy or whatever. So the next day we went and grabbed that 908 motor. I have pictures of this in my truck. And then we're driving along. I remember this because I was driving my trailer. I wasn't too sure if we could fit in the truck. So we put it in the trailer. I put it in the back of the truck and it fit. So I'm driving with an empty trailer and then the truck broke. I got like a $100,000 engine and the truck broke in Compton. The stores are all graffiti and all this stuff. And we can't go on the freeway because the transmission broke and it won't go above 35 miles an hour. So I'm driving all these side streets with all this stuff and Paul's driving behind me. He's armed, but we got this big engine, but no one knows it's in there. So it's not that big of a deal, but I'm still just dragging my ass, my Nissan Pathfinder driving this trailer. And the reason why the transmission failed is because I kept towing everything with that thing and it's designed to tow like a tiny sailboat, not like 5,000 pounds worth of stuff, which is what I hauled around all the time with it. So I abused that thing, but it was a great truck. But that's another story. But anyway, so we get back with the 908. So then we had all the motors stacked in there.
And before we go, what happened to the dude? Did he pay the $100,000 or just agree to buy it?
That was one of the 3 lawsuits. So yeah. So he sued the guys that he was paying from, and I was hired as an expert witness in that trial. And as a big deposition that I did, I got paid like $300 an hour, which is like a king's ransom at that time.
Back then?
Yeah, that's big bucks for me. Yeah. And then the insurance, I'm being a little convoluted, the insurance company ended up suing those guys too. But it's more complicated than that because, the next question you might want to ask is where'd they get the motors from? Well, it turns out, I'm cutting to the end of the story a little bit. Turns out that the motors were stolen by a disgruntled employee of course, of the Vashik Polak cleanup crew or whatever. And then that guy teamed up with another guy, and they put them in a storage center, like public storage or whatever, and they were just paying the storage or...
Yeah, $50 a month.
I don't know, something like that. And then it turns out that the guys who had the stolen motors, their friends rented the storage center next door. And they poked a hole through the wall and peeked in, and they saw the engine sitting there. And
They probably were all out hammered on malt liquor.
No, they stole the
but
engines. The guys who stole the engines from the guys who stole the engines.
Yeah, but
so like a twice baked potato.
Loose lips,
the
sink
engines were
ship.
twice stolen.
They
They stolen from the other thieves.
They were like bragging probably. Like,
I don't know the details because they were very tight-lipped in the court cases and all that stuff, and I wasn't privy really to
I hope
that.
people got their money back.
Well, the insurance company, the guy who bought this engine was buying it like 50% what it was worth at the time, and it was when you...
Well, it's 50% of that. It's still, what, 100 grand?
He was paying 150 grand.
Yeah, so,
was
I don't know about you, Wayne, but I'm a little shy to cover that with my overdraft. And
He had a 908 coupe that I think he paid $3 million for or something. There's a funny side note is that I called him up on an answering machine, and I left a message on his phone, and I'm like, hey, I don't want to use his real name, but hey,
so-and-so.
Bill, use Bill, I was calling to talk about the 908 and the engine and all that, so just give me a call back. He calls me back, oh my God. He's like, don't ever leave a message on my machine like that again. It's like, why not? It's like, I don't want my wife to hear about it. I'm like, what, your wife doesn't know you own, my wife doesn't know I bought the car. She thinks I only own this one car. So it's like, she doesn't know I own two cars. I just try to keep them separate and never put them in the same spot at the same time.
Genius.
Just don't, I'm sure he's divorced by now.
Well.
But it turns out, the other side of the story is it turns out he married into money. Wasn't even his money that he's spending on the race.
Yikes.
Yeah, actually, in the hindsight, it was probably a decent investment. Anyway, so the bottom line story also is that we had the guys who had the stolen engines figured out who they got it from. Those guys were also involved in a stolen bicycle ring. We pulled the police records for the stolen bicycle ring. You see all this big warehouse. Stolen bicycle rings, stolen bicycles everywhere, and then there's like this offices, and then above the offices there's an attic, and above the attic there's something up there. Three stacks that look very fuzzy up there, or whatever, just sticking out 1, 2, 3. And Paul showed me the photos, and I'm like, there's the 911 motor. And so the running joke with Paul was like, Paul, it's great. You can get all the motors, because on the police report it said 911 motors, 917 motors, blah, 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 blah. And then it said Sony clock radio. That was stolen too. And I'm like, Paul, I want you to get, your challenge is to get back the clock radio.
The Sony Dream Machine.
The Sony Dream Machine. All these 917 engines. Anyone can get those back.
I want
to see you get the Sony clock radio.
That's Sony.
Yeah. No, it's kind of funny, but anyway. So back there, there was four BMW GTP motors and this 911 motor that was up there on the top. So anyway, Paul went down there, and there they are, and he got them back the same way he got them. So we got, I think 100%
of all the stolen
all the stolen stuff back. Just bits and pieces at a time.
No jail time served by anybody.
You know what? I don't think so, because the statute of limitations had expired, but everyone involved got their ass sued, and they had to spend money on lawyers and all this stuff, and I was there.
That's like going to jail.
I was there in a deposition with these guys here and these guys here, and I'm an expert witness and a regular witness and all this stuff, and these attorneys are all fighting each other and blah, blah, and the insurance company fighting them, blah, 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 blah. And then to add, the story's got like 25 layers. It's like one of those really long layered cakes. The insurance company was suing their reinsurance company because they placed the policy with the reinsurance company, but the reinsurance company never actually placed the policy. So it was a clerical error on insuring these things. So the insurance company denied the claim. We never placed the policy, but we contracted with you to place the policy, but we never. It's like if you insured through State Farm, and said, oh, your car is insured, you wreck it, And State Farm's like, oh, you know, we never filed the paperwork with our back office or something like
Sweet
that.
James will take care of that.
Pretty much, yeah. So, so there was that lawsuit too, and that got settled. That was the same insurance company that covered the Twin Towers as well, McMartian.
Yeah, out of business, I'm sure.
So
Something shady. Well, it's insurance. What can I say?
So the bottom line is that the engines were all in our warehouse, and I'll get you guys this photo. It's a beautiful photo with the black 911 Carrera in the background. We had 4 917 motors, 1, 2, 3, 4. We had a 9083 motor, the 907 motor. Those are the big bucks ones. Then we had this 911 motor, and then we had 4 BMW GTP motors. Finishing up the majority of the story is Brian Redmond, famous race car driver, was in charge of the disposition of the motors after they got recovered. And he came to our place, and we had an auction at our Pelican place where they were auctioned off, et cetera, et cetera. And Brian told some fabulous stories. I have this on video somewhere, I think. So we sold. It was sold for $1.5 million to charity. The rub is they offered the engines to me. Said, "You want to buy them?" It's $450,000. The insurance cost, you know, was that's what we, you know, you want them? They're $450,000, and I'm like, oh God, I mean,
you knew that they were.
That's like
gazillion dollars.
You might as well say $10 billion. It's not even like a remote. I had like 10 grand, 20 grand in my checking. There's no way. It's like not even touchable. It's not even a concept. I probably should have borrowed every penny from every loan shark in town, because now each one of these motors is worth
gazillions.
$1 million or $2 million each. Yeah, that would have been a good return on your investment. But you know, this is a long time ago. This was back in 2005-ish. You know, my daughter was born in 2005. She just turned 18, so it was 18 years ago. So yeah, so they auctioned off the 4 917 motors, the 907 motor, the 908 motor. It all went to a single buyer in Europe, or actually a single bidder in Europe, and then they got split up to different people. Seinfeld ended up with one of the motors. I know that because I saw it at his place. And I don't know where the rest ended up.
I know where this ended up here.
Well, that's where I'm getting. Very good. You can read my mind. They said, I told Brian, I said, Brian, you know what? And I did all this. Well, Vashik donated all of his money for charity and all that stuff. So every single thing that I did with these guys, except for being a paid witness for the, expert witness for the insurance company, because that was paid for by the insurance, but everything for the charity, I did for free. I'm like, I can't, you know, they're like, well, I want to pay you? No, don't worry. It's kind of fun. Catch the bad guys, 917 motors. It's a great story, all that. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's like, yeah. I was like, no, you can't pay me enough to do this shit. So, yeah. So they said, no. So I said, can I buy the motor? I'm like, I had no idea. I had a feeling what it was worth, but you know, this is back in the day when stuff wasn't as worth. So I figured it was worth about 10 grand or something like that. So I offered to buy him for 10 grand. And Brian said, no, you know, we wouldn't have gotten the motors back without you. We're going to give you the 911 motor and the 4 GTP motors. I'm like, okay, cool.
Wow.
So then I went home and I'm like, okay, this is going in my living room. Or not my living room, but I'm gonna hang on to this one.
Your wife's going, Wayne, get that motor out of the house.
The story behind this thing is too insane and too awesome to let this thing go. But we took the 4 GTP BMW motors, and I don't know if you know anything about these M10 motors,
Nope.
M12 motors, I forget. But they're the coolest motors, BMW. It's the ones that ran in the Benetton F1 car.
I know the cars. I don't know what the motors
The motors are 4 cylinders, 2-liter motors. They used to have these motors, they used to have 2002, and they let the employees drive them and put 50,000 miles on them. Then they take the blocks out, because they're all de-stressed, and turn them into BMW F1 motors. They ran these motors at F1 with, not a typo, 80 PSI boost. They would run them for 1 lap on some sort of special Nazi German Messerschmitt fuel.
Yeah, benzene.
That's benzene. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. People are dropping
benzene.
it. people are dropping of cancer.
Yeah,
as
they're already dead.
Yeah.
So benzene, they run on the Benetton fuel. This, you've seen the things where the things catch on fire and you can't even see them burning. All of that space-age German Nazi fuel, whatever, would run on these BMW motors, these force, and they run it for the qualifying. They run it one lap, 80 psi, pull the motor, because I guess you could do that back then. Put another one in, and that was it. Throw it away. Anyway, so it's the same motor that ran in the 320 turbos. So, so I had 4 of these, and it's a very small market. So I sold 3 to some guy in New Jersey who was an expert on the cars, and then Corey, who we met and stopped off today, he bought one for his 320i turbo car, which he got ironically from Wojciech Polak. So that was a spare motor for his car. He actually had another
You
one.
do a lot of good for the community, under the guise of just helping out, which is great.
Well, we sold the motors. We sold the motors to them, and that was about we got $35,000 for the motors, and then Wojciech had donated all these motors for the charity. So what we did is we did the same thing. So we took 35 grand and we donated it to the charity. So. As you know, my daughter has Down syndrome, so we donated it to the Down syndrome charity.
That's what I say. Like, you did all this, for free, basically.
Well, I got this.
Well, that's nothing compared to what you brought back to the community. Because all those things would have been, stolen, taken apart, sold to some, secret guy that has the cars instead of what the intention was. That money should go to charity.
I'll take the compliment.
Yeah,
At the time, I was like, I want to get the bad guy. Yeah, I was like,
No, but
I want to get this guy.
No,
I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it for the chair. I'm like,
those motors would have ended up, at people with those cars. But the bottom line is the intention was that that's to help people, and you brought that back at least as part of the charity. That money all went back to charity on the second sale of them.
Yep.
And that's fantastic. And like I said,
There's another side story to that too.
Well, I don't know if we have time for that.
I'll do the very brief version. So here at Pelican, we hired a guy, and this guy was let's just say he was a rehabilitated ex-con guy, but he was very young, et cetera, and we weren't sure whether to hire him or not or whatever. So we called up the
PO?
Not the PO, but he had a work release kind of program. We called it where he volunteered. So we called him up. He said, I wish every guy who came through our door was like this guy. He's the model guy, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, okay, all right, well, we'll take a chance on him. We'll hire him, I didn't tell my wife because she doesn't like me hiring people who've been in prison. But anyway, this guy was a great guy, model guy and all this stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And we give out profit sharing for at Pelican to all of our employees. So we write out the checks, and occasionally, not everybody. It's fine. I don't expect anything back. They earned it. You don't have to thank me for something that you guys earned. And the profits of the company paid for this stuff. I want to give back to the employees or whatever. You guys, we're all partners. I'm not, Anyway, bottom line, a lot of people come up and thank me. No. I'm like, they thank me, and I have a standard response. Is, no, they say, thank you, Wayne, for the profit. I mean, no. It's my way of thanking you. That's it. So anyway, guy comes up to me, this guy, let's call him Bill. So Bill comes up to me and says, Wayne, I want to thank you for the profit share. I'm like, no, I want to thank you. I said this like maybe hundreds of times over the 20 years or whatever. I'm like, no, I was like, well, and this guy he had 4 kids. He was 20. Yeah,
wow.
you can just leave we don't judge or whatever.
Yeah, nope.
He's not married.
We don't have to in this case.
No, but one of his kids had Down syndrome as well or whatever. And he said, you know what? So I understand you're working with this charity and you're donating all this money to the charity from the engines and all that stuff, whatever. I wanted to give you back a portion of my profit sharing. So he handed me a check or $50 or whatever. Here's $50 back from my profit. Please donate it to your charity. I was like, that never happened before. That was pretty good.
That's probably huge for a dude like that.
It was huge for a dude like that. So I'm sitting at the charity benefit dinner, and we're the big shit because we're donating 35 grand. I mean, they usually get like 3 grand or whatever. And I said, it's not me who's donating this. It's Wojciech Polak. And I said, the donation amount is $35,050. And I have to tell you guys, I'm up there with a little microphone. I'm not really good with microphones. I'm okay with like, you know, you
Headsets you do okay.
and our camera guy Ivan here, but I'm not good with a large crowd of people. I tried to wing my wedding toast. Don't ever do that.
Oh, no.
Remind me to tell Tommy not to do that. But anyway, so I'm up there with microphone. I'm just like stumbling around. I'm like, okay, so the money is 35 grand. I talked about Voshik, and I talked about the story of the engine. And I told the whole story that I just told in a much more abbreviated version.
In like half an hour.
Yeah, in half an hour instead of, how long?
32 minutes.
32
Oh,
minutes. All right, there you
jeez.
go. So anyway, so Bill, you know, so I said the story. So here's the $50 that Bill donated from me. I told the whole story about how he was an ex-con, and we gave him a chance and all that. And then the guy who's running the charity came up with a brilliant idea. He said, you know what? This is, you know, we have people, you know, tearing up or whatever that they would do this. I'm like, I didn't think that. I thought it was a cool story, but I didn't think it would make any cry. I've made people cry before, but not this way.
That's what you got kids for.
Yeah, that's good. Anyway, so the guy comes up and says, you know, well, here's what we want to do. It's like, you know, anybody, you know, Bill can donate $50 from his paycheck. I'm going to challenge each one of you, and there's like 200 people there, to match Bill's donation of $50. So we turned the $50 into like 6,500 at that point. And then they had this big poster. They had the big event poster that said, well, you know, the Down Syndrome Association, blah, blah, blah.
Thank you, Bill.
No, they flipped the poster over, a big magic marker. They said, thank you, Bill, on the top, drew a line, and then wrote down everyone's name and the $50 or whatever. So then, like the next day, like when I said, here, give the poster to Bill. I'm like, wow, this is gonna be good. So I sit down, I call Bill into my office with his manager, and Bill's like, yeah, because he thinks he's gonna get fired. Everyone who comes into my office with the managers, they're like freaking out. And the first thing I say is, don't worry, this is a good thing. You're not getting fired. I say that many times to people when they get all nervous.
That should be an indication to you that there's some reason that people are nervous when they walk into the office.
I don't take it personally.
Okay,
but
all
when
right.
you get called into the office with me, and your boss, you're either gonna get a promotion or you're gonna get fired.
Yeah, but you know.
You know, and you know, yeah. So anyway, I gave him the card and all that stuff or whatever. So
That's a nice story, though.
it is a great story.
It's weird. Like, out of all the crazy, crappy stuff,
Yeah.
it's still, you know, his dreams of donating his stuff to charity still got fulfilled. Plus, you got a nice motor. Bill got really appreciated for doing a little bit. That was a big thing for him. But the story is worth more than any of this stuff.
That's why. So this very briefly conclusion.
And in conclusion,
No, in preparing for a conclusion, and I got like a gazillion fingerprints after leaning on this thing. But so this green car was built by a friend of mine, Ede Hopkins, and he let's just say during 2008 he had to sell it. So we had this car out at a RS shootout. I think I told you about it today, where we did a magazine shoot with Tim Sutter from Grassroots Motorsports, and we had 7 RS and RS clones all lined up. And this is one of the cars that was there. And this was the Mac Daddy of what was there. And he had a 3.6 fuel-injected motor in it. The surprising thing was that all the cars on the straightaway pulled away or whatever, and we were all kind of equal. Nobody really showed anyone else up. So that kind of irritated, I think, a little bit. So he said, I want to go back and build a bigger motor. So he contracted to have a 4-liter motor built, which is no one's ever really built a 4-liter motor to have custom heads and all that stuff. Anyway, so he took the motor out of this thing and had this big project started. And then this big recession hit, and shit hit the fan for a lot of different people. So, I offered to buy this car from him, and then like on New Year's Day, I think in 08, and then he called me up a month later and says, all right, it's yours. So
and you bought it without the motor.
Without the motor and without the transmission. So the running joke is, because I had this, I just needed a tranny. The running joke was that Scott, the guy who was working with me on the stolen engines, that this is the world's most expensive engine stand for this motor. The end. Not quite the end, because it's still here.
And you got a transmission.
Well, what? No, I had to buy the transmission.
Well, we're driving this car because that's out of all, like I said, out of all the cars here.
I know, yeah. So it is. It's everyone's crowd favorite, but they love it because of the green part. This is
double-
the real.
Double whammy for me.
Yeah.
Green and motor.
This thing is awesome. So so we've never had this on the road, and the reason why we've never had it, Casey, one of my old assistants and mechanics, put it together, got it running, and all that. And we were gonna go drive it on the road. I didn't have my dealer license back then, so I'd have to register it and all that stuff. The thing had open pipes up until about 2 weeks ago. And it's literally the loudest car in the room, if not what I've ever heard in my life. It's so loud.
It looked like it had the same pipes like the rally car, but the rally car is not crazy loud on the outside.
The
Is there
rally car
baffles
has
in
a
it?
muffler.
So there's mufflers inside.
Yes.
Okay.
This is straight pipes.
Yeah, I remember
with
looking at-
megaphones.
I looked
Hold
under
on,
it before.
Yeah, hold on, yeah, hang on. If you want, I'll get him.
It's a good car.
I hear you.
I'm not going to drive it because I'd be too afraid to blow it up.
Woof. So here's the megaphones that we took off of the car.
Right off the header.
Right off the header.
Nice.
And you know, it's the funny thing about megaphones is that they are designed to amplify as it gets bigger. Like hello.
And no
It's
baffle.
Like, no baffle.
'Cause they look
So
like
it gets
the same-
louder. It makes it louder. So the neighbors complained 3 times, with this car when we were running it.
You
They
gotta
would
move
come
out
over-
to the
they call
desert
the
or
police
something.
on it. It's running on the other side. We have people with houses across the way. It is so loud. It is insane. The 935, which is in the Peterson Museum right now, it's not here. All these 962s.
That wasn't crazy loud.
No, because they have a turbo.
I know, not crazy loud.
No, because there's a turbo on the end. This thing is crazy loud. I
I
know.
mean,
We got the new muffler on it.
You know
I'm
what else
hoping
is-
to keep it down so we can drive it on the road.
What's bitching about these mufflers?
What?
4 inches.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Maybe I'll swap the motors just to piss. Swap the mufflers just to piss. Put the big one.
I'll
on
be
this side.
I'll be here in the middle of the
the
night
small
with
one
with your assistant. Hey, Wayne told me to come on in here and
With
do a
the
little work.
Sawzall, yeah.
Yeah, freaking just pipe wrench them off. And
Yeah.
out of all the cars we've been in, this is.
I know it's everyone's favorite.
Well, everyone's funny because they like it because it's green. I love the green color.
Yep.
I love the freaking motor.
The motor's awesome.
It's the closest I'm going to ever get in a car that has a real race Porsche motor.
Well, other than the race car.
Well, those are different.
they could squish you in the side of
Yeah,
those.
but those are a little different, though.
Well, they're actual race cars.
Those are full-on race cars.
That one raced at Le Mans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to race down Hawthorne Boulevard or something.
Just like Le Mans.
Just like,
It's just because Hawthorne Boulevard and Le Mans are just like
same
just like
thing.
that. Now, so very briefly, because we're running out of battery and memory card, what everyone's going, you didn't say anything.
But tell me about that fan, Wayne.
Yeah. So now that you guys know, now that everyone knows the story on the motor, they know that we have no story on the motor. This was just a motor on Voshik Polak's shelf, and no one really knows what was inside, what it was built for, or anything. The story was this was supposedly built for a 908 chassis that Voshik was buying, and he was going to put in this. It's the wrong motor for that. It's kind of a weird story. Whatever. A story is a story, right?
Looks great in here.
But on the police report, which I'm happy to show you guys in a minute, it says it's a 3.4 motor. I have no idea what crank is inside. I have no idea what pistons. We did not open it up. We basically cleaned it up. It's been sitting for years. Cleaned it up and fired up.
I'm going to guess that we're going to need to go down and get some race gas.
Oh yeah,
Leaded.
110.
Leaded.
I don't know.
I got a 5-gallon of 114 if you need it.
14. That's
Yeah.
getting close to
Leaded.
that Nazi fuel, huh?
Yeah, leaded. It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
that's okay. I don't want to. It runs fine on the AV gas or the 110. So At least it runs an idle fine. So we think it's a 3.4 based on what was told on the police report or whatever. It's got high stack fiberglass MFIs. These throttle bodies, they're cast. They all seem to be custom made. They're all individual. Never seen anything before like it. And I used to say to everyone, I've never seen another motor like this until we saw one at Fast Cars several years ago. It was very similar to this. It's a 3.6 case, so it's a 964, like a 1990s era, 911 base on the bottom. This is a twin plug distributor. It looks like an Andile adapted unit. I don't know, I don't remember. It's been like a long time since I've really closely looked at this, but it's got twin plug distributor here. We got the two 8-pin CD boxes here. These are the ones they run on the motorsport cars. And this is the original fan belt that was on it. It's still good. It still says Porsche across the top. So anything we could keep original without taking off, like the plug wires are all original too. We wanted to keep them to ensure whatever authenticity we could, because I have pictures of this on the shelf sitting right next to all the 917 motors.
It's crazy.
Coolest 911 motor in the world.
When I see these, it reminds me of 917 motor. Like the stacks, that's all the same stuff, it looks like.
All this is all custom made and custom welded. We don't know if it's made at Voshik's Pollock shop or anywhere else, or, so it's just kick-ass. And the thing is that, to make a long story really long, so you could take a motor like this, you wouldn't want to put it in a real RSR because that's not correct. And, you wouldn't want to put a real RSR motor in a clone like this. So you're kind of condemned to Sophie's choice or whatever. This is the perfect motor for this car. This car is custom built for this, and this motor is custom built in period for Voshik. And they're both oddballs, and they're both perfect for each other.
Badass. That's a technical term I'm going to use here.
The end. All right, Sandy, that was pretty good, right?
Great videos today, Wayne.
All right, remember, if you want more, please hit the subscribe button. We'll keep going.
Don't forget to mash the like, too.
Mash the like button. Yeah, I think it's down.